Alright, well, I had other plans today, but the 30XX demo dropped early. It was actually supposed to come out on the 16th, but I guess because the Summer of Gaming thing was today, they moved it up. So, first thing you'll notice about this version of the game, or this entry in the series, I guess this is a franchise now, is that it's using pixel art. 20XX is one of my favorite roguelikes of all time. It's definitely the one I put the most time into. The second would probably be Wizard of Legend. But it looked like a Flash game. It used skeletal animation. Obviously, they were working with a very meager Kickstarter budget. Ironically, the game did extremely well once it actually went on Steam. There were far more people buying it. But the Kickstarter campaign barely made it, so they had to make some compromises. I think the game 20XX looks fine in motion, but when you're watching someone play it, it's very easy to think it looks like a cheap Flash game. And now they've got really nice pixel art. The guy who does the pixel art for this has been the pixel artist in a lot of other big indie games like Chasm, Full Metal Furies, a couple others I'm not familiar with. Let's get some persistent bonuses here. Alright, a word of warning, this might not clear. The difficulty is not completely tuned. There's been a lot of things people have been complaining about. Visibility of enemies, for one thing. The power-up sprites are actually quite small. They're way smaller than they were in the last game, so... just visibility in general. Some level chunks need to be tuned out and stuff. The original game was like that, too. There was a lot of BS and stuff that they worked on later on. Here's the progression menu. There's not really a whole lot in here. This is kind of just to make, I guess, getting feedback a little bit easier. You know, people who have already finished the game like I can make it a little bit easier, but that's basically it. So, in terms of how Ace plays, he has an infinite combo now, which is kind of cool. You don't have to, like, dash cancel anymore. He also has a power system, kind of like how Draco was in the last game. However, some moves like this actually changes depending on which active weapon you have. Overall, he feels quite good. The physics feel just about the same. I'm not sure if they'll be tweaked later on. I think ideally they could make them even better and make it more like Mega Man Zero, but telling a developer to just make it like Mega Man Zero is not entirely constructive. So, we'll see what happens there. Alright, let's try to get a run going. Put on auto charge. That mole right there, you can see how hard it was to see where he was. That's one of the biggest complaints, is that enemy in particular. Health drops are quite scarce. They said that they would improve them later on. So this demo actually feels quite difficult, even if it's not really intended to be. The level chunks do feel quite a bit better, but some of them definitely do feel a little bit unfun, kind of like this one. You don't particularly have a lot of visibility, you have to repeat a lot if you fall. You can look at the sprites there for the bolts. They're like barely visible. I'm sure that's something they'll work on too. Visibility is very important in platformers. Action games in general, but platformers too. Especially a game like this where you have permadeath. You don't want to get killed by things you can't see. So, they did say that they're taking a lot of feedback. There were already like 2 hot fixes today since this morning when the demo dropped, which was very similar to how the last game worked. They were very receptive to feedback, and they fixed things pretty much as soon as they could, once they came to a consensus. Hey, cool, I haven't gotten Oxjack splits yet. So Ace no longer has an energy bar, he has like a what they call a style bar, and he can use that to use all his techs. It'd be interesting to see how items synergize with him at all, if they do. I actually don't want that. I'll pass on that. Clean level. Let's see if anything's in the shop that I can buy. A little short, sadly. Cool. So one of the major changes they're going to be making with this game is that you may remember in the first game you had four unique levels, and you went through them twice. So you did a whole section of revisits, and then you had when they went into full release, you had what was basically considered to be the Wily levels, and then the game ended, and that was the end of your run. Here, they're going to have 10 unique themes, so there will be no more revisits. I assume, you know, if you put, like, Endless Mode or something on, there will obviously be revisits still, but for just a basic stock playthrough of the game, there's not going to be any more revisits. That's part of the thing that's making this game way more expensive to make than the first one, on top of the pixel art. Pixel art is beautiful, but unfortunately it's not cheap. Definitely one of the easiest ways to make this look bigger and better than the first game, though. I love the first game to death, but I'll be the first to admit that it doesn't look that great. Air dash or double jump? Oh, you can actually change cores now. Cool. I don't know how to do that, though. Alright, let's roll with this for a bit. it's nice that you could actually change the augment course. I think that's actually a pretty welcome change, because before you had to constantly make really difficult decisions about which one you wanted to take. The original musician from the first game, City Fires, is back too, which is pretty nice. I am not a fan of this boss at all. It has too much health. There we go. Thought I was gonna wipe there. I got no health too, that's bad. I hope some will drop. That's not good. I'm gonna go ahead and skip this because I'm already kind of low on health. XX, I think, I play a lot of early access games because a lot of the games I enjoy are indie these days. Obviously, I play bigger games and AAA stuff too, but indie's a pretty big part of my my gaming arsenal. Yeah, I could definitely say these guys gave me the best experience I ever had in early access. I think they did an amazing job. Alright. Okay, so it seems like you have a cost limit for the cores that you can equip. They'll probably have some way to increase that limit permanently later on so that you have a little bit more freedom. This phase of this boss has been a pretty big subject for debate. It's kind of boring. You can't really break his shield or anything. He'll probably have like a weakness where you can break it. Weaknesses in the first game, if you didn't play the first game, were actually pretty unique. They weren't like Mega Man games where generally the weakness just did more damage. Here you actually got like disable certain attacks and things like that. It's not like Mega Man has never done that, but it was always on a case-to-case basis for the most part. You just did more damage or you know, would induce hits done. But here you get like an actual bonus for it. So here's the final power and also the end of the demo. He's got a DP. Yeah, it looks like he can only equip however many points. So the mobility ones take 5 points, and the arm parts take 4 points. Let's go ahead and mess around with some mobility before the end of the video. Now, I wonder if you could do this. Oh, no, you can't. The developers are smarter than that. Anyway, that's the end of the demo. So, they got like 20% of the game done. There's supposed to be 10 unique levels, and I assume there will probably be a Wily section, just like the original game. That's a lot of pixel art, so I think this game probably will end up being in early access longer than the first one, which is not particularly a bad thing. I don't really think that's a bad thing at all. Ah, here you go. Yeah, so you can get more starting core points. That's already in the game. I don't know how much I'll grind this. It's going to be up for a few days, so if you're interested in playing this at all, I recommend clearing your schedule. If you have other stuff in your backlog, or you're going to watch some streams or something, definitely take some time and play this, and also give them some feedback if you can. I know a lot of people have been stung in early access games, myself included. I've definitely bought some that I never featured on the channel, that just kind of never really updated. They just took the money and ran. These guys are very nice. They're very nice people. They're very talented developers, and they also are very involved in the community. 20XX was in early access for a long time. I know that was a subject of debate for some people, thinking that they were never going to finish the game. Obviously, they did finish the game because this exists, but it took a couple years, and as somebody who played the game since day one, I definitely think that the game was better off for it because they actually did listen to the community. There's definitely plenty of early access games that don't listen to the community, or they just kind of realize that the game is not making much money and they just drop it. They just put it in full release. Card Art Time is a pretty good example. Things like that can definitely sour people, but there's really nothing to worry about here. This is going to be a really amazing game. I think it's already fun so far. It's mostly just the visibility. The difficulty does feel a little bit off, especially since this is only the first 2 levels of the game. I think it's going to be pretty crazy later on if the level 8 difficulty starts kicking in and things like that. But those are things that will be improved in time, and there's going to be a lot more persistent elements in this game compared to the first one. I think there's going to be like whole property changes and stuff. They did a stream, I think a week or 2 ago, and they showed some of those things, and it seems like you're going to be able to really customize your build a lot more. This is kind of just a work in progress thing, just to make it so that people are interested in playing the demo more than once after they beat it, and that way kind of indirectly give them more feedback to harvest. So we'll see what happens there. I will probably play this a couple times more. If they make any major changes, I'll let you know. They're basically using this as obviously it's promotion. The game is going to be in early access at some point in the near future. They haven't announced a date yet, but it seems like they're pretty damn close to having it. I mean, they could probably already release this for like $10, $15 and it would probably do okay, but I guess they want to put a little bit more content and polish in it before then. But like I said, the demo will only be available for a few days. I believe it's going to be available until the 22nd, if I remember correctly, so you only have about a week to play it. Chris has been updating the game. I think he did like 2 hotfixes today, and it's only been like barely 12 hours since it released, so there'll probably be some more polish. They may even add some minor things into it during that period. But yeah, that's my little overview for 30XX. This will definitely be a huge project for me when it releases. 20XX was a game I covered for many years. I covered almost every patch. Sometimes there weren't really major updates or anything, but pretty much every patch I covered at some point. I like doing patch overviews. Early access games for me, in general, if they're handled well, they can be a great way to have content when nothing else is going on. Obviously right now, it's not really the fault of the pandemic. I know people are blaming it on the pandemic, but a lot of it is just the standard. You have the standard summer drought, and then you have the fact that this is the end of the console generation, so a lot of the big AAA mega blockbusters are already out, or they've already been announced and they're going to be coming out within the next few months. And then you have the pandemic, which is affecting things, obviously, but it's not like it's making it easier to make AAA $50 million games drop out of the sky. It's kind of a dry period right now, so I'm hoping that they'll put this out sooner than later. I've got a couple other early access games I'm working on right now, but this is the one I'm really interested in, because I put about 200 hours into 20XX across both the Switch version and the Steam version, so I'm definitely probably going to put more time into this if it's more polished. Ace feels more unique. I exclusively played Ace. I did play Draco for a little bit when he released, but Ace was pretty much my main for the entirety of 20XX's lifespan, and they definitely made him far more interesting here. I think that putting Draco in the game right now, they already said that they would have to make some drastic changes to him because they basically took Draco's mechanics and put them onto Ace, but they expanded upon them farther. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. They did say that adding new characters and stuff is going to be a lot harder now because they're actually working with professional pixel art instead of skeletal vector animation, and that makes things a lot more expensive. I have a feeling that this game will do well. They have already earned the goodwill of the community. I don't think anybody can really complain about 20XX's early access period. The only thing that would be a little bit valid was how long it was in early access, but they updated pretty much every 2 weeks if I remember correctly. They almost never missed a date. The only time they missed it is if there was like an emergency. I remember there were a couple emergencies, or they were at cons promoting the game or something, but they were very thorough, they were very honest, and they were very receptive to feedback. I'm sure we'll get just more of the same here, which is not a bad thing at all. Anyway, I will see you guys tomorrow. Maybe I'll do a couple more runs of this throughout the period. Peace.